Let me ask you something. If you spent 40 years saving for retirement, building a healthy 401k, paying off your mortgage and investing wisely, why would you still need a Social Security check every month? Most people believe they wouldn't. After all, isn't Social Security only for people who didn't save enough? That's what millions of Americans think while they're still working. But once retirement actually begins, something surprising happens. More than 9 out of 10 retirees still rely on Social Security as part of their retirement income, even though many also have savings, pensions, or retirement accounts. Now meet David. He's 68 years old and spent 36 years working as an electrical engineer in Arizona. He did everything financial experts recommended. He contributed to his 401k, invested consistently, avoided unnecessary debt, and entered retirement with what most people would call a comfortable nest egg. Friends often told him, "You'll never have to worry about money." For a while, they were right. But 3 months into retirement, David noticed something he had never experienced during his working years. Every month his retirement account balance changed. Some months it grew, some months it fell. Inflation pushed grocery bills higher. Insurance premiums increased. Market headlines changed every day. Yet there was one payment that arrived almost exactly when he expected it every single month. His Social Security check. It wasn't the biggest source of wealth in his life, but it quietly became the most predictable one. Let me ask you another question. Which would help you sleep better at night, an investment account that rises and falls every week, or a payment you know is scheduled to arrive next month? That's the question many workers never ask until after they retire. Financial planners have long observed that retirement isn't only about how much money you have. It's also about how predictable your income feels. That's one reason Social Security remains such an important foundation for retirement planning, even for households that have accumulated significant savings. Recent retirement surveys show that while many workers expect retirement accounts to carry most of the load, retirees. But here's where the story becomes even more interesting. David had another friend named Karen who retired almost the same year. She had nearly the same amount of retirement savings, a paid-off home, and no major debt. On paper, their financial lives looked almost identical. Yet Karen checked her retirement account only once a month. David checked his every morning before breakfast. Karen booked trips to see her grandchildren. David kept saying, "Maybe next year. I just want to feel a little more secure." Their account balances were similar. Their peace of mind wasn't. So let me ask you one more question before we continue. If two retirees have almost the same amount of money, why does one enjoy retirement while the other constantly worries? The answer has very little to do with the size of their portfolio, and almost everything to do with how retirement changes the way people think about income. And once you understand that shift, you'll never look at Social Security the same way again. David couldn't stop thinking about one question. If he had spent almost 4 decades preparing for retirement, why did he still feel more comfortable when his Social Security payment arrived than when his investment account went up $20,000? At first, he thought something was wrong with him. Then he started talking to other retirees. One neighbor had more than $1 million invested but still checked the date of every Social Security deposit. Another friend had a healthy pension, yet admitted he slept better knowing one payment would always arrive each month, no matter what happened in the stock market. That's when David realized he wasn't experiencing a personal problem. He was experiencing something millions of retirees quietly discover after leaving work. Now let me ask you something. If your investment portfolio dropped 15% next month, how would you feel? You'd probably worry. But what if your Social Security payment arrived on the exact same day as always? Wouldn't that give you at least a little peace of mind? That's because retirement isn't only about building wealth. It's about replacing certainty. During your working years, your paycheck quietly became part of your emotional security. Every 2 weeks it reminded you that another payment was coming. Retirement changes that. Suddenly your savings become responsible for producing the income your paycheck once provided. That's a completely different psychological experience. It's one reason retirement experts increasingly emphasize dependable income alongside investment growth, because confidence often comes from knowing the next payment is already on its way. Recent retirement surveys continue to show that Social Security remains the primary source of retirement income for the overwhelming majority of retirees, even among households with retirement savings. Around the same time, David met Karen at a local retirement workshop. Karen had almost the same amount saved for retirement. Their homes were paid off. Both had invested for decades. Let me ask you another question. Which retirement sounds richer? The one with the larger investment account, or the one with fewer sleepless nights? That's a question many workers don't ask until retirement has already begun. Financial planners often discover that retirees aren't only looking for higher returns. They're looking for confidence. They're looking for predictability. They're looking for the feeling they once had when a paycheck arrived every 2 weeks. And that's exactly why Social Security plays a much bigger role than most people expect before they retire. It isn't just a government benefit. For millions of Americans, it's the foundation that allows every other retirement decision to feel a little less frightening. But here's where the story takes an unexpected turn. David thought understanding Social Security would finally remove his biggest retirement fear. A few months later, life gave David and Karen the same opportunity, but they responded very differently. David's son called and invited him on a 2-week family trip to Yellowstone, something they had talked about for years. His first instinct wasn't excitement. It was caution. He opened his retirement account, checked the latest market headlines, read another article about inflation and quietly said, "Maybe next year. I just want to feel a little more secure." Karen received a different phone call. Her daughter asked if she would spend the summer helping with the grandchildren while the family took a long-planned vacation together. Karen almost gave the same answer. Then she stopped and asked herself a question that changed everything. If not now, then when? She realized she wasn't waiting for more money. She was waiting for complete certainty, and complete certainty almost never arrives in retirement. Let me ask you something. How many people do you know who regret taking one extra vacation with their family? Probably very few. Now ask yourself the opposite question. How many people wish they had spent more time with the people they loved while they still had the health and energy to do it? That's the conversation many retirees eventually have with themselves. Financial planners often remind clients that retirement isn't only about preserving assets. It's also about creating reliable income that gives them permission to live the life they spent decades preparing for. Recent retirement reporting shows that Social Security remains the foundation of retirement income for most retirees, while savings, pensions, and investment accounts work alongside it rather than replacing it completely. David finally accepted the family trip. Karen spent the summer making memories with her grandchildren. Neither decision changed inflation. Neither decision made the stock market more predictable. Neither decision removed every financial risk. What changed was something far more important. They stopped measuring every decision by what they might lose and started measuring it by what they could still experience. That's when retirement finally became what they had imagined all those years while they were still working. Not because life became certain, but because they stopped expecting certainty before allowing themselves to live. So let me leave you with one final question. 20 years from now, what do you think you'll remember more clearly? The exact balance of your retirement account on a random Tuesday morning, or the memories you created with the people you love? Chances are you won't remember what the market did this year. You probably won't remember the inflation rate either. But you'll remember the road trip you almost canceled. You'll remember the afternoon you spent with your grandchildren. You'll remember the phone call you answered instead of postponing. Those moments become the real return on a lifetime of work. And maybe that's the biggest lesson of all. Social Security was never meant to replace every dollar you earned. Your investments were never meant to remove every uncertainty. Together, they exist to support a retirement you can actually live. The greatest retirement mistake isn't always running out of money. Sometimes it's reaching the end of life with a healthy portfolio, but too few memories because you kept waiting for the perfect moment that never came. If this story made you think differently about retirement, tell me in the comments. What gives you the most confidence in retirement, your savings, your Social Security income, or the people you share your life with? I'd genuinely love to read your answer. And if you enjoy retirement documentaries built on real research and real-life stories, subscribe, because our next documentary begins with another question that millions of Americans are asking, but very few are answering.